I'm Kari Borne. I'm from the Office of Continuing Education at UW-Whitewater. We've been partnering with Fairhaven here since 1983 to offer our lectures, and we don't often get to talk sports, so this is really exciting to finish up this talk with a sports talk. And I'll let today's speaker introduce herself. So welcome, Coach Keri Carollo.
Well, thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I have brought my teams here many times to play bingo. I think we've made dog treats. What else? We've done lots of fun things. So I have had the pleasure of coming to Fairhaven many times and always enjoy being a part of this community and the Whitewater community as a whole. My husband and I and our 3 kids have lived in Whitewater for 24 years now. Yeah, a long time. Yeah, so it's a good place, and I've worked at the university for the same amount of time, 24 years, so I feel very blessed to be a part of this wonderful community here in Whitewater. Is it still on? Yes. Originally, great question. So I'm originally from Humboldt County, California. So I grew up out there, yes, born and raised in that area, and decided for whatever reason to move to Wisconsin. Yeah, so my parents still live there, and my younger sister still lives there. And where they live is about 10 minutes from the ocean. And yeah, and I went to college about 10 minutes from the ocean, and the weather was about 70 to 75 every day, maybe 80s, sometimes 90s. I never grew up in snow. Didn't know how to drive in the snow, so it was definitely a big change for me to move to Wisconsin. But when I moved here, I was only about 23, 24 years old, and I loved it. I fell in love with the state. I fell in love with the people. Where I started out was at UW-La Crosse, and I loved it there, loved the people at the college, and met my husband there, and the rest is history, right? You meet your significant other, and here I am. I never left. So, but I feel, like I said, very blessed to be here and be a part of the Whitewater community. So I'll just kind of go along with a little bit about myself, so you know that where I was born and raised. I attended Humboldt State University, which is a Division II college, NCAA Division II college. Went to college there and was able to play college basketball. I felt very fortunate while I was there. I had 2 wonderful coaches that really encouraged me to continue my career in coaching. I don't know what they saw in me. I guess we worked some camps and worked with youth, and they saw me interact with the kids, and they were like, wow, you would be great at this. You should consider going into coaching. So that's kind of where my path started, and I decided to take on being the head freshman basketball coach in my community in California. So you can imagine this 22, 23-year-old coaching high school freshmen. It was wild. We had a good time, but I fell in love with the girls. I fell in love with the kids. I really felt like I could mentor them. I could help them. So I knew that coaching was going to be my passion. And so then I went on to, like I said, move to Wisconsin. I was a grad assistant coach at UW-La Crosse for 2 years, and then I got hired at UW-Stout for 3 years as an assistant coach. We had great success there, and then Whitewater came calling. So I applied for that job. I was 26 years old. I was like, there's no way they're going to hire this young 26-year-old coach with only 5 years of college coaching experience. But I was very fortunate that Sean Eichhorst, I don't know if you guys remember Sean, but he was our athletic director at the time, decided to take a chance, and he hired me to be the head coach. Man, did I not know what I was doing. But I love the team, I love the girls, I love the community, I love the university, so I really just went into it and just worked super hard and gave it my all, and here we are today. So I don't know how many of you follow the women's basketball program at UW-Whitewater, but we've had tremendous success. I've coached 4 teams to Final Fours. We finished national runners-up twice. We've won a bunch of conference championships, but we've had tons of success. The other great thing about our basketball program is that we have had 5 Whitewater high school players on our team. So if you know the Schumachers, you know that name? Yes, the Schumachers, the Truans. We had Brooke Truan on our team. Who else? The Thienes. You guys remember Jerry Thiene? Yep. So she was on our team. Megan was. And then my daughter, Casey, was on our team the last 4 years. So we've been really lucky. Most of you may know the Harms family, Judy Harms and Gary Harms, coached at the high school for a number of years. We had a great relationship with them. And so we were really lucky we were able to bring some of our own, right, from Whitewater High School to our basketball program, which is really special. So I've been really fortunate to be able to coach a lot of great women, and I'm super passionate about the women in sport. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is just the landscape of women's athletics and where it started and kind of where we are today and the things that we need to do to continue to see it grow. So I'm going to talk about kind of 5 different things and 3 areas that I think have really helped transcend women's sport. Probably the first one is Title IX. So some of you may be familiar with Title IX and gender equity, and then this new era of what's called name, image, and likeness. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Caitlyn Clark, but we're going to talk about her and the Caitlyn Clark effect, yes. And then some of the challenges that we've overcome, and then obviously the progress that we're still making. So this is kind of the direction of the conversation that we're going to talk about today. I've also included some pictures of my former players, so I thought you guys would kind of enjoy that. But that was our first conference championship team right there to the left, cutting down the net. So I thought that was pretty special. So Title IX. So Title IX in 2022 marks the 50th anniversary. So we're very proud as women that we were able to put that into place 50 years ago. It was a breakthrough law in the United States, and the Education Amendment Act was signed by Richard Nixon. So most of you may know that, the former president of the United States in 1972. So this is actually 2 years before I was born. Now I'm dating myself. Now you guys know how old I am. But it was a really important act that happened in the United States to help create more equity for women in sport. So some requirements of Title IX. So Title IX requires all federally funded educational institutions in the United States to reward male and female athletes equally. So they're looking to create opportunities now that are equal to what the opportunities are for our counterparts or the male athletes. So there's actually 13 different areas that colleges and universities look at to make sure that we are equitable with the male or our counterparts. So there's a lot of different areas that we look at, and it's super important that we try to the best of our ability, make sure that we meet all of those areas. So I'm just going to give you a couple of them because there's obviously a lot of them. But one main one is probably athletic scholarships, right? So when we are offering male athlete scholarships, money for athletics, we want to make sure that we are offering the same opportunities for women as well. Equipment, travel, tutoring even, that we have the same number of coaches in relationship to our male counterparts, which can be challenging at times. So for example, we have football right here at UW-Whitewater, which is phenomenal. They're a really good team. But if you can imagine, if you have 100+ men on a team, you're probably going to need more coaches. So how do you balance that out with a women's sport that doesn't have that many on their roster? So that's where, as women, we have to try to balance that out with maybe a bigger roster, like maybe swimming and diving, lacrosse, cross country, something like that. So we got to find ways to make it equitable. Athletic training, facilities, that's another area. Facilities is a really important area that we look at because if we don't have equitable facilities, practice spaces for our women, and the men have maybe a better space or a bigger space, then that's where we could run into some issues. Athletic training, like I said, dining, housing, there's just a lot of different areas, recruitment. So there's a lot of areas now that they're really focusing in on to make sure that there's opportunities for equity. So they're really focused on, like I said, on the allocation of resources and providing opportunities for all. So it always comes back to opportunity, right? Like we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate. We don't want to take away opportunity for women to be able to participate because of their gender. All right, so the exciting news that in 23-24, we saw an all-time high of 235,735 student athletes competing in women's sports across all divisions. So that's pretty awesome because that is a huge difference, and we're going to talk about it a little bit from what it used to be. So if everyone is familiar with the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association, that is what UW-Whitewater is affiliated with. There are 3 levels. So when I say Division I, Division II, Division III, those are the 3 levels of the NCAA. Division I is going to offer scholarships, so athletic scholarships. Division II is going to offer scholarships, but it's partial money. And then Division III, we don't offer athletic aid, we only offer academic aid. So UW-Whitewater only offers scholarships based on their academics. So if I recruit a player and she comes and plays for me, she is not going to get money based on her athletic ability. It's only based on her academics. So we work hard to try to find really smart girls, right? Then we can give money. Okay. All right, since Title IX. So this is what's really exciting with the implementation of Title IX. 2 generations of women have benefited from the increased opportunities both on and off the field. So pre-Title IX, 15% of college athletes were women. Today, 44% of the opportunities to play sports go to women. So look at the huge difference, the big jump that we have made, and that is since Title IX has been implemented. So that's very exciting, and if you think about it, 2 generations, that's a lot, so it's very exciting. But as always, we still have room for growth, right? So, areas for growth. We're looking to invest more in women's sports. We need more media coverage, and we need to pay women in sport the same way that we pay men. So, college spend a fraction of women's sports compared to men. So, Congress introduced a bill to analyze gender equity in NCAA tournament championships and other programs. So I'm not sure if you all are familiar, but 2 years ago, there was an University of Oregon women's basketball player that decided to basically do like a live blog of her experience at the national tournament. Well, what she did is she found out is that the discrepancy between what the male experience was and the female experience was drastic. And this is only a couple years ago. The women had a weight room that was probably the size of this room. The men had a full weight room, weights, whatever they needed. The women, when they went to have meals, they got sack lunches and only some buffet type meals. The men had catered meals. So she blogged all of this and posted it on social media, of course, right? It's the way of the world. And people were mad. A lot of people were upset. And so this is where Congress got involved and decided to write a bill to ask the NCAA to do an internal investigation. And so they went in and they investigated, they saw the discrepancies, and now today we have equal opportunity at the tournament. So if she hadn't done that, it probably would still be the same. But we're very grateful for her for doing that so that now we have the same resources. Another statistic that will kind of blow your mind, nearly 90% of sports media coverage is dedicated to men. Yes, all the men in here are going to hate me after this, I feel like. I know. Trust me, I love you all, but I have to, point it out. So for the first time, I don't know how many of you watch the NCAA basketball tournaments. You guys watch any of that? Women's, men's, a little bit? Okay, so for the first time, if you've heard of the men's basketball tournament, it's the NCAA March Madness, right? They talk about March Madness. Okay, everybody wants to fill out a bracket, and it's all exciting. Well, they never promoted the women's tournament that same way until this year. This year was the first year, that they decided to promote the women's tournament as the same NCAA March Madness tournament. So that, because I feel like a little bit had to do with Caitlyn Clark, but we won't give her all the credit, right? Without a pathway to self-sustaining income, many women can't afford to play professional sports. And I talk a little bit about that in a minute. But there's just not the same level of support for women to continue to play professionally. So just some areas that we still need to work on for growth, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more at the end, but just to kind of give you an idea. Name, image, and likeness. How many have any idea what I'm talking about? Anybody? A couple of you? Okay. So name, image, and likeness is a new policy that, new as in 2021, that the NCAA implemented to create an opportunity for high school athletes and college athletes to get monetary value for their name, image, and likeness due to their athletic achievements. Okay? So they are able to endorse products so that they can use their name, image, and likeness to endorse a product to be able to get monetary value. So typically, most, as we all know, social media has kind of taken over, and this is how the student athletes use social media for monetary value. So a student athlete will be really popular, and they'll say, I want to endorse Nike, which isn't going to happen at our level, but it does happen at other levels. And so what they do is they will, write a blog or a vlog, and then they'll post it on social media like Twitter, Instagram. You guys all familiar with that, right? TikTok. What else is there? There's a whole bunch of different outlets. But this is how they make money. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples. So the highest paid female college athlete is Livy Dunn, and she is a gymnast at LSU. Anybody have any idea how much money she makes annually each year? Give me a guess. No idea? 80 grand? All right. Anyone else? 5 million. All right. I like that answer. $4.1 million. Yes. So she is doing exceptionally well. She has endorsement with Fabletics. And she is, yes, if you happen to be at a computer and you Google search her name, she's everywhere. And what's kind of exciting is that gymnastics is really probably not a sport that is really a high-profile sport. So it's really great that she has taken her craft and really does really, really well for herself. Endorsements. So, different companies reach out to her. And what's even more interesting about this name, image, and likeness is that the student athlete has to manage it themselves. So she can't hire an agent. Yeah, she has to, I'm sure she has some help with that kind of contract. But they all have to kind of seek it out on their own. So if our student athletes want to do something, they have to do it on their own. Yeah. Okay, the highest paid high school athlete is Kaya Trump. She's a golfer. Yes, she is President Trump's granddaughter. But any idea how much you guys think her endorsement? This is high school. $1 billion? Okay, well, I did say she's Trump's granddaughter, so I'll give you that. 1.2 million, so in endorsements, yes, that she has. And she's a golfer. Yeah, a golfer, which I'm sure you probably watched the Golf Masters yesterday. Yes, Rory? Yeah, good work, Rory, right? Yeah, so it's a lot of money, but it's exciting for women because now they can also potentially make as much money or try to work to make as much money as our counterparts. Well, Livy has been, I think she's a senior now at LSU, so probably 4+ years at least. Yeah, because they can start in high school. Yeah, with endorsements. Okay, so just to give you guys, these are Division I athletes, okay, Division I. So this is like scholarship level. Kai Trump's going to go golf at University of Miami, so she's all set with that. She's going to get a full scholarship. But I wanted to give you guys an idea of what our athletes are doing at Division III. So we have a couple athletes that are sponsored by Bubbler, which is a hydration drink. And instead of getting bunches of money, they get products. So if they do a contract with Bubbler, then they will get a whole bunch of those drinks sent to their house. So that's one. We have a bowler that has received bowling balls and equipment. We have a baseball player that is signed with some batting gloves. So it's more product as opposed to millions of dollars, okay, at the Division III level. And then we actually do have one baseball player that signed with Verlo, the beds. He got a free bed. I thought that was pretty cool. I was like, yeah, good job, buddy. So he got a free bed out of it, so he was really excited about that. So mostly products at our level, less actual cash at the Division III level. But exciting changes for Division III or the divisions and also for women in sport. Okay, Caitlyn Clark, you guys know who this lady is, right? Okay, so let's talk about the effect that she has had on women in sport. So first of all, we know she played 4 years of college basketball at University of Iowa. If any of you watch their games on television or if you had a chance to go watch her in person, they are sold out. They were sold out every time she played. She was a phenom. She liked to shoot deep threes, really athletic, really fast. She transcended the game with her ability to pass. She's a wonderful person off the court. People just really embraced her, right? So every game is sold out. When she traveled on the road, like she came to Wisconsin, sold out. So she just really drew people in when she was at Iowa. Then she signed with the WNBA, which is the Women's National Basketball Association, with the Indiana Fever, which was really exciting for her to go to Indiana because we all know Indiana is a big basketball state. So she was able to sign there. She increased popularity and attention for women's basketball all over the world. Record-breaking attendance and viewership. She increased sponsorship, merchandise sales, and investment in women's sports. People are just crazy for her, which has really just been just a wonderful thing for little girls to be able to look at her and get excited about being a female athlete. She signed a $28 million deal with Nike. Yeah, and she gets her own shoe. That's kind of cool. I wish I had my own shoe. Yeah, so she gets her own shoe. So $28 million, this is groundbreaking for women in sport. She's estimated to be responsible for roughly 26.5% of the WNBA's league-wide economic activity for the 24 season. So she increased 26.5% of everything for the entire league in one season. Her presence is also credited with driving significant economic impact in the city of Indianapolis, estimated at $36 million. So for her just to be in the city, playing in the city, drew $36 million of interest back into the city in hotels and tourism and people eating out and all of that. So she really has not only done amazing things for women's basketball, but she has really just really transcended how people perceive the women's basketball game and are excited about it, want to be a part of it, want to buy things, endorsements, people want to market her. So it's really been impactful for all of us in women's athletics overall, not even just in basketball. All right, so let's talk about a couple of challenges that we have faced, are still facing. That's my daughter. I had to put her on there, right? She's a pretty special player. So that's her in the white. So yeah, she made the PowerPoint. So some challenges. So the number 1 draft pick in the WNBA, Caitlyn Clark, is guaranteed $76,000 her first year. So she signed her contract with the Indiana Fever. So for 1 year, she gets paid $76,000. Okay, so here, I have a quiz question for you. How much do you think a first year draft pick for the NBA makes? Over $1 million? What do you guys think? Anybody else? No? The number 1 draft pick in the NBA gets $10 million. Yeah, so we're not even close. Okay, so still quite a big discrepancy there, and definitely still a bit of a challenge. How many were among the 100 highest paid athletes in the world? Okay, so think about the world according to Forbes magazine in 2024. What percent, what's the percent, do you think of the highest paid athletes in the world? How many were women? 5? 1? Okay, we got 1 and 5. It is 0. It is 0. So top 100 paid athletes in the world, not 1 female. So we still have a definite challenge there. Maybe Caitlyn will be our first. That would be exciting, right? Okay, among elite athletes in the world, what average do women earn compared to men? So what's the average between elite athletes from male to female? Yes. Yeah, it's down there, 1%. Yeah, so 1% of the elite athletes in the world average do women earn compared to the men. So we're still behind. Yeah, let's hope Casey makes all that money. That would be great. So we're still behind, but we're getting there. We've definitely made progress, which I don't want to make this a super negative because we have made a lot of progress, but we still globally are still not where we need to be. So we're still working on some of these challenges to overcome. I think the most fun part for me watching over the years that I've been a part of college athletics is the level of interest and just viewership, right? Watching women play, excited about the fact that we are just as talented, athletic, we work hard, all of those things that the men do. So there's definitely more interest, and I've even seen it at Whitewater, like the difference from when I started till now, the interest from people coming and watching us play is really, really exciting and great to see because those women work really, really hard to put a great product out on the floor. So some progress. Some of you may recognize this lady, Billie Jean King. So in 1973, tennis led the way to equal prize money when Billie Jean King founded the Women's Tennis Association. I don't know how many of you play tennis, but today all 4 major tennis tournaments offer equal prize money. And that started way back in 1973, so that's definitely groundbreaking for the tennis world. In 2022, the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team secured a landmark equal pay settlement. This was huge, transcended the women's soccer world. The settlement included $22 million to compensate players for past discrimination. So if any of you love soccer, the women's soccer team is really fun to watch and definitely made some big progress for them to be able to get that settlement through. It was hard, though. I don't know if any of you followed that case, but it was a really difficult and challenging case, but groundbreaking. Some other progress, the number of sponsorship deals. So we talked about that with name, image, and likeness. In professional sports, though, so now we're not talking about college or high school. In professional sports has increased more than 22% year on year, according to the latest data. So that means we are increasing every year, which is really exciting. And I wanted to point out some of the top sponsors for women. So Nike, Coca-Cola, Gatorade, Emirates, which is an airline, Hologic, which I'm sure you probably like, what is that? That is a company that promotes women's health, and Rolex. Everybody needs a Rolex, right? Lead the industry in female sports sponsorships. So there are specific industries and companies that are really focused on elevating women in not only just what they're trying to do as far as growth, but also making sure that they're promoting and encouraging women in sport, which is really exciting to see. So we've had some challenges. We've made progress, but we're still on the road to where we need to be. But it has been really fun for me to be able, over the years, to be able to see the growth and the changes. And I know a lot of times having conversation about tough topics like gender equity and those kinds of things can be really sensitive to some people, but I feel like we are working towards a better future for our young women, and I think that we are definitely doing a great job as leaders in women's sport to make sure that the younger generations look to us and that we're setting a great example for them to be role models in the future. And that's really kind of the importance of these young people as athletes, because then they move on to be leaders, right? So they move on to be administrators in sport or coaches, and then it just continues to grow from there. And so it's been really fun for me to be able to see that. So that is all I have for you guys.